It's the Fantasy Football Show in black and white. Week 2 preview.
What's up, everybody? Week one's all done. It was an interesting week, but a few things real quick. We had a couple records broken for our league. One, most people probably in leagues everywhere. Peyton Manning, 65 points for our league under our scoring system, 7 touchdowns. Starters in the game put up a personal record for our league also with 173 points for his team. And just a few notable things from this past week. Danny Amendola is probably the biggest notable injury. Also, Shane Vereen, which rushed for over 100 yards last week, is on injured reserve now. And David Wilson and Stephen Ridley with a little bit of fumble problems. So we'll see what happens there. But starters might be a little worried about that one. And I have an apology to make for my outburst on Jared Cook. If anybody watched this show. So I apologize for starters. Apparently, Jared Cook was a good deal. And my Zach Sudfeld. That's apparently not going to work out how it was before either. So.
Well, I'm very glad to see that you congratulated starters in the game after he kicked your butt last week. Wow. And then, obviously, yeah. Man, it's like the Patriots, they looked average, and fumbling problems, injuries, and wow. I mean, running backs, it was really tough actually last week. I looked it up. There was only like 2 running backs actually went over 100 yards, and one of them was a backup, Shane Vereen, and he's hurt now. I think he's out until like week 11. He's on that midweek or mid-year IR, and then the other running back that went over 100 was who was it? Who was the other guy? Anyway, I can't remember what his name was. And then Terrell Pryor ran for 112 yards. So it was a rough week for running backs, which is crazy considering how many running backs really went in the first few rounds. You know what I mean? Everyone drafted heavy on running backs, but I don't know. It just doesn't seem to be paying off at this point.
Yeah, but that was only week 1, so we'll see. Things are going to change. You know how that is.
Yeah. All right, well, we're going to get right into it. So this first segment's going to be the actual fantasy picks. I just want to say this week, or should I say last week, I was 5-0 in my picks.
Yeah, and I was 3-2, whatever. We'll see.
3-2 is not bad, man. 3-2 is not bad. So you're still in the game. You'll be all right. And plus, usually at these picks, you've been better than I, but I got you last week. So what can we say? The first matchup that we have is Avengers versus First Name Greatest, which is me, and I picked me to win. So and especially Bill called me just to make sure to be like, hey, who are you gonna pick before this game starts? So I'm like, all right, yeah, I picked myself to win, and especially after we've seen how the Patriots looked, and since the Avengers is all in on the Patriots, it's not looking good, especially with Tom Brady 15, Stephen Ridley 4, Julian Edelman 7, and then Gostkowski got 7, so you got a total of 33 points, and out of the Patriots defense, I got 16. It's not looking good right now. And so even before that, I thought that this game was going to kind of turn out like this because the Patriots didn't look good and they had a lot of injuries. It was a short week. So I had already picked myself, and it looks like it's going to come to fruition.
Yeah, I went with you as well, and like you said, I called you right before the game started because just let everybody know we do make sure we make all our picks before the Thursday game. It's just kind of awkward with it trying to record before these games on Thursdays during the week. But so yeah, like I said, I called you before to get your pick and let you know who I picked. I also picked you as well, and I'm the same way. He's all in on the Patriots, so if the Patriots have a bad week, he's going to lose. That's all there is to it. And they didn't look very stellar in week 1, not like the former Patriots. So, you know.
I think it's going to be hard because there looked like a lot of miscommunications or just drops, and I don't know. I think I think maybe the Patriots may have like overguessed themselves for the first time because usually they've been able to make cuts and exchange this person for that person and yeah, and still keep winning. But now it seems like they've cut too many ties. You know what I mean? And they're using too many young people. But who knows? The bottom line though is they're 2-0, and that's all they really care about. But from a fantasy perspective, it's becoming very sketchy as to who you can actually use from the Patriots as a week-to-week starter. You know.
Yep.
All right. Well, here we go on to our next matchup, which is Game Time versus Venom. And honestly, me and Bill were talking a little bit before. I still did not know who I was going to pick, so boom, I'm gonna pick Game Time. You're the winner. We'll see how this works out. I don't know why I'm picking him. I'm gonna be honest. I just picked him. That's it. This matchup is too close to call because I genuinely feel like RG3 either this week or the next week he's gonna explode. You know what I mean? And then really it just comes down to Lamar Miller, but I don't know. I don't trust MJD either in his matchup, so it's like these games are very close to see who's gonna win.
Yeah, I agree. It's funny. I'm not picking myself. I'm picking Game Time, and that's just because I just don't. I'm not feeling my team right now. I don't have faith in them right now. Uh, I have a big question mark for myself over my number two running back. I mean, I don't really have one. Lamar Miller, Rashad Mendenhall, those are flex starts at best. So, but we'll see. I mean, I like the rest of my team. I got a pretty strong wide receiver core. Last week, unfortunately, I had a lot of Des Bryant and just people that just did nothing, which is pretty crazy to me. But those weeks happen. So, but I am going with Game Time this week, and hopefully, I am wrong.
One can hope, right?
Yeah.
All right, the next matchup was Gauchos versus Starters, and unfortunately, let's pick Starters. Starters in the game, you're gonna come out, you're gonna get that second win. It, it, even though his running game is questionable, her starters are at some of her positions are kind of bad. So it's kind of I don't know what's gonna happen because she had started Danny Amendola, but I know that he's not even playing. Well, he didn't play tonight, so that's like 0 points. So that puts her like way behind the eight ball. But even at that, you have Pierre Thomas as your second starting running back, Kenny Britt as your second wide receiver, and so then you got Lance Moore. So you got a lot of people who are like the second or third option on their teams, and they're starting. So I'm not sure why she put Randall Cobb on her bench because he's by far like one of her best players. So she definitely needs to get him back in there, and then she so. But either way, it's not gonna matter. I think that starters in the game, his team's just too strong, especially with the fact that Peyton Manning is gonna lead out that team, and I expect him to score over 30 points every week. And I may end up having to eat my words at the end of the season, saying that there would be three or four people better than him by the end of the season. But we'll see because his running back core is looking real shaky with the fact that Jamal Charles already has gotten an injury. Shane Vereen went down. David Wilson went down from fumbles. And if what happened to Stephen Ridley is any indication of what's going to happen to David Wilson this week, you really can't expect much from him because they limited Stephen Ridley like by far his carries and how much you could see that they trusted him. So pick starters in the game.
Yeah, I'm starters as well. I just looked it over, and even discounting the Danny Amendola thing that she left him in. In fact, I had called her. Like I tried to do my best to look at everybody's selections and make sure that they don't have anybody that's not playing or on bye or injured or whatever, and then get a hold of them and tell them to switch it before games. But I didn't catch this one in time. I called it. It was like I don't know, 5 minutes till or whatever, and the lineups were already locked up. So But anyways, even without that, I mean, just if you look at the rest of her starters going across the thing, it's just even with starters running back issues he's got right now. I mean, David Wilson better get rid of them fumbles real quick. Otherwise, I mean, he'll no longer be a number one.
I
Andre
think he's already out of that. I think he's already done being a number
Yeah.
one. At this point, he's a number two at best.
Yeah. So that's going to be rough. But yeah, I picked starters. The matchups just kind of point you to that direction. I mean, you look at his squad and her squad, and even with his running back troubles, there's just no way he can lose this game. So that and this week is the Manning versus Manning battle, and I think the Broncos are going to chew up the Giants this week. I don't see anything around it. So
Yeah, for sure. Next pick was Steel Curtain versus SOS, and I picked Steel Curtain. Man, when I gave him that B plus in the draft, I thought his draft was really strong, and now it's really coming to fruition because you think about it like this. Um, he has Arian Foster, who, while he's going to split carries, he should see more action and he should be more into game shape. You know what I mean? So he's getting closer and closer to game shape. Trent Richardson didn't really have that good of a game last week, but I think he'll be better this week. He has Colin Kaepernick, who, wow, 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 is all I can say about his points. He, went up way, way above what I thought. And then, of course, there's Larry Fitzgerald, who played good. I mean, the only really bad one on his team is Greg Olsen, but, that is what it is. And then when you look at State of Shock, it's just like you got Antonio Brown starting, and you got Chris Johnson and Matt Ryan, who I think will be average. The Seahawks defense should play well. I just don't know that they're going to get a lot of turnovers. So in this, I just picked Steel Curtain. I just think that his players have way more upside, you know what I mean, as far as the maximum cap that they're going to score this week. So I went ahead and went with Steel Curtain on this one.
all right, well, we're backwards on this one. I went with SOS, and I went with SOS for one big reason. Most people know the reason if you listen to me all the time, each week or whatever, and that's because Kaepernick's going to Seattle. There it is. So in Cap, I do not trust as far as Seattle is concerned. So
here's the thing though. I think they can lose, but Kaepernick still score. You see, this how I'm seeing it. Like, I think he'll still have a good game. The thing is, they're going to be dependent on him. You know what I mean? And I don't think that Steel Curtain has to have him score 40 points in order to win. You know what I mean? I expect Arian Foster to get a touchdown this week. I expect Trent Richardson to get a touchdown. So I'm expecting like 12 to 16 points. So I'm just like, if you take those points away and put Kaepernick down to an average game, maybe like 25 points or so, which I think he's capable of putting up in Seattle, and the 49ers still lose, and then you add them maybe like those 6 points to those other players, I think he still comes away with the win. And that's all.
All right, that's fine. Like I said, I'm just gonna go with SOS. We'll see what happens.
And then the last matchup is the Knights versus Bowl Bound Broncos. And Knights, you have the advantage at the wide receiver position. I mean, really, that's what it comes down to. I just thought that they were pretty even as far as like Andrew Luck and Matthew Stafford. The Matt Forte, I think, and Marshawn Lynch, I think that they'll have good games, especially Matt Forte, but Marshawn Lynch will have an okay game. And so I think he'll have a better game than Frank Gore will. Frank Gore looked like trash last week, and that was against the Packers defense. I mean, when he goes against Seattle's defense, it's going to be even more bad times. But I mean, he did put up, I think, like what, 10 or 11 points, but still he didn't look that good. He didn't run for that many yards. So I just think with Julio Jones, being out there, being the number one, Roddy White's not playing, and then you got Reggie Wayne, who just continues to score. And then on the other side you got Mike Wallace, 2 thumbs down. DeAndre Hopkins, he's gonna be okay, and then you got T.Y. Hilton, and that's really questionable because it looks like he's not even starting really. So I just think at the wide receiver positions that like kills over Bull Bound Broncos and the Knights. You'll be getting a win this week.
Yeah, I got the same thing. I got the Knights. Also, what you pointed out is the Knights have Reggie Wayne. He's going to steal points from the Broncos team with Andrew Luck. I do like the Andrew Luck start this week. I think Andrew Luck's just going to be a good start every week. But on the flip side of that, the Knights has Reggie Wayne, so that's going to be him stealing some points away. And like you said, I'm not a big fan of Hopkins. I mean, he'll be okay. Mike Wallace, I think, is a dud this week again. So I give the edge to the Knights. I think the Knights will get this one.
All right, check me out. Check me out, man. Check me out. Check me out. Mike Wallace is a dud. Not last week, not this week. The season, okay? Wherever the camera's at, the season. That's it. I'm just putting that out there right now. I'll put on a Mike Wallace jersey next week just so everybody can see. But it's a wrap for him this season. This season he's not gonna have a good season. He have an okay season at best. You know what I mean? That's it. 1,000 yards and 8 touchdowns caps out, and that's bad for your number one wide receiver. So anyhow, and I know I said that in the draft analysis, but that's just how I see it. And to me, the numbers ain't lying, and they ain't gonna lie again this week. It's gonna be the same old, same old. Anyway, that wraps up our fantasy picks this week. So hopefully I fare better than you again. That way I can rub it in your face a little bit more. And also for anybody who does want to add their name into the picks, because Game Time actually sent me his picks for this week. So when I post this up on the website, I will put like the standings of where me and Bill are, and then who we picked this week, and then Game Times. I'll put his picks on there also. So if anybody else wants to get in on that, and then I can add you into the standings, please email me or Bill what your picks are, and then we can get you added in. No problem.
All right, now next little segment we got is our hot and not segment. This is kind of a fun little segment for me. My hots. I picked one for each position, with the exception of kickers, because let's be honest, really, do I need to pick a hot and a not kicker? I don't think I do. But anyways, quarterback, my hot, Carson Palmer this week. Yeah, I know it's Carson Palmer or whatever, but it's Carson Palmer this week against Detroit, and they are playing at home in Arizona. Uh, Wide receiver to go along with that Carson Palmer pick, Larry Fitzgerald. You will see later he is in my bold prediction this week. But Larry Fitzgerald, as long as he starts, I know he's got a little bit of soreness with his hammy, and we'll see what happens with that. But I think he'll start. Running backs, Trent Richardson, Cleveland. I think he will rebound from last week. I think last week was just a fluke thing for him this season. I think this week he will be back and reap the benefits. Tight end, Jordan Cameron. Pelton didn't start him last week. I think he will start him this week. He put up 16 points last week against Baltimore. So I say, why can't he put up another 16 points against Miami? So Jordan Cameron, I think he's the deal over there, and I think he's a solid 10 to 15 points, 16 points every week. Defense, Cincinnati. I think Pittsburgh is horrible this year. They're playing Cincinnati. I think there's no way that you should have a problem with Cincinnati's defense this week. I think they will tear up the Steelers. The Steelers look horrible this year. The only shining moment the Steelers had last week is when Polamalu timed that one blitz perfectly, and like literally as soon as the ball touched the quarterback's hands, he was on the ground, which is pretty cool, but whatever. Knots. Jamal Charles. I know he got a little bit injured last week. He'll be back this week, but Jamal Charles, not. Mike Wallace, there you go. There's your season dud. Mike Wallace against the Colts. Quarterback. I already said it once. Colin Kaepernick in Seattle. I'm picking him for a not this week. I know it's hard to do based off of what he did last week, and Pelton's shaking his head at me right now. But Colin Kaepernick, I'm putting on my knots. With that being said, also tight end, I'm going to go with Vernon Davis as a not. Like I said, I'm just big on Seattle. Not even a Seattle fan, but I love me some Seattle, and they're in Seattle this week. And defenses. I had Cincinnati, so I'm going to pick the other side, Steelers defense. I had them last week. I dropped them. They're just, yeah. I think they're going to be definite. I think Cincinnati's going to put up some points quick on them. It's going to drop the defense down. I don't think the Steelers defense is going to end up with too many interceptions or anything. So I think they're a big knot this week.
All right. Well, I don't know. Obviously, I don't agree with all of them, but Mike Wallace, hey, you got it right. Bang. Hey, just put them on your knots every week. Maybe I should do that. Yeah. And then I can bring out a Mike Wallace jersey. Anyway, here we go. For my hots, RG3 and Aaron Rodgers. I think both of these defenses are average to good, but that's not going to be good enough. I think RG3 is fired up, especially after he knocked off some rust last week, and he knows they need this game. The Green Bay Packers know they need this game, so I think this is going to be a big game. They're gonna let it all hang out, let the points fly in this one. So RG3 and Aaron Rodgers both should be great hots this week. Another hot that I'm picking is Darren McFadden. I don't give a rat's if even if he just plays 3 quarters and gets hurt, that'll be enough for him to get in with close to 100 yards rushing and a touchdown. I think he's going to be good this week versus Jacksonville because Jacksonville's defense is horrendous. LaShawn McCoy, woo, that eagle fly high. That eagle fly high. Fly like an eagle. That's the person who I think is going to be the best running back in fantasy football. He's number 3 right now, so we're going to see. We're going to see where he ends up at yet, but his rushing yards were ridiculous. It was like Madden out there. And then I picked the Raiders defense versus Jacksonville. I'm a little hesitant because Chad Henne, I think, might be starting, which means Jacksonville offense to me would be better than what they had in week 1. But, hey, it's still Jacksonville, and they still looking like trash. And you know, it seems like Maurice Jones-Drew is not quite up to speed. Yeah, they don't have Justin Blackmon, and then also my boy CSI the third, man, he's a little nicked up, so I don't think their offense is quite ready to roll. So the Raiders defense, and they actually looked good against the Colts. So and they were getting some sacks and some pressures and things. So I'm like, if they can do that against the Colts, we're gonna see what they're gonna do against Jacksonville. Guarantee they're getting at least 1 touchdown. That's just what I'm putting out there. And then for my knots, okay. While me and Bill are picking on the same game as far as the Seattle game, keying in on some 49ers players, the players that I think won't do well is Frank Gore. First of all, he didn't do very well last week. He did all right. And I think this week he doesn't get the touchdown, and he just ends up with maybe like 40 or 50 yards, which is only 4 or 5 points for your starting running back. So I think that's definitely a not. Roddy White, he only scored, I think, like 1 or 2 points last week. So if you have an option, even if it's a flex start, I think you'd be better suited putting the flex player in because at this point he's not healthy, and they got him out there as like more of a decoy because he's not really getting any looks or anything, you know. So I would definitely not start him. Bill picked Vernon Davis as a not. I'm picking Anquan Boldin. I just think that Vernon Davis will be able to get more free and open because he'll be working more of the middle where the physical corners of Seattle will be all over Anquan Boldin. And you know Richard Sherman is chomping at the bit, just waiting for this one because these teams already don't like each other, and you know he's going to have something to say and be big talk, you know, all that. You mad, bro, against Tom Brady last year. So I think Richard Sherman's going to be ready to handle Anquan Boldin. And then my last is we'll revisit Jacksonville and say Maurice Jones-Drew. Wah, wah. But we'll see. I think Maurice Jones-Drew, man, your team is just horrendous. Maybe at some point later their offense can get rolling, but as of right now, Jacksonville's got nothing. Offense, defense, special teams, they got nothing.
Yeah, I hear you. All right. One thing I will say about Oakland, I did say they will get 3 wins this season. This will be one of those wins. So, NFL. This is our NFL picks for the week. This week we have 5 games. That will be our normal. We will have the Thursday night, the Sunday night, the Monday night, and then me and Pelton each pick a personal game that we like, and then we pick them. So, first game, Thursday night, well, it's already done. We know the outcome. It was Jets at the Patriots, and the Patriots won. I did pick the Patriots well before this game, so did Pelton. I mean, you'd have to be crazy not to, even though the Patriots look bad right now and they don't look like themselves. It's still the Jets. Rex Ryan is still, and the Jets are still the joke of the NFL. And so, there you go, the Patriots.
I'd tell you this. But the only thing is like this: the Patriots, they look terrible, but they're 2-0 terrible. So they're like, hey, we'll take it. And the Jets, obviously, me and Bill have talked about this a lot. They just obviously got lucky. They should be 0-2. They got lucky to be at 1-1. So they're just lucky somebody messed up on the last play of the game, or else they would be 0-2. And their team is just terrible. I mean, I told Bill, I was like, Geno Smith looking real Mark Sanchez-esque.
He is, and the team is horrible. I just, like I said, this is Rex Ryan's last year, period. He's done there. The team is just bad. And, I mean, I will say this. The Patriots are 2-0, but they did play 2 teams with rookie quarterbacks for the first 2 games. And it's not like last year's rookie quarterbacks. It's not like Andrew Luck, RG3, Russell Wilson, not like those rookie quarterbacks. Like, we're not talking that caliber. So, as soon as the Patriots, I'm not sure if they're playing in week 3. I haven't looked it up yet, but I'm just saying, I don't know. We'll see. They don't figure things out. They're going to get their first loss real soon. But, anyways, my pick for that match was the Patriots, and it happened. And that game even concluded with some players getting thrown out of the game. So, what a fun game.
And, of course, they were on the Jets.
Yeah, of course. Of course. So, by the way, I am picking all home teams this week. So, for my 5 picks. Our next game, our Sunday night game, 49ers versus Seattle. Even if I wanted to pick the 49ers in this matchup, I couldn't because, well, we know my stance on Seattle, and I'm sticking to it. That is my stance. Seattle is better than the Green Bay. And Green Bay and the 49ers at 49ers. So Seattle will take this matchup versus the Niners. I think they are the best team in the NFC West.
Okay, so let me think. Okay, according to the Wieselmeyer NFL mathematical theorem, I have to pick Seattle. So I think your calculations are correct. So I'm going with Seattle at home. My only question is, now we got to kind of adjust the math, right? Because Green Bay lost in San Francisco, right? And we have put that in as part of the equation, right?
Yeah, I'll get back to you next week when I figure it
out. Okay. So anyway, long story short, we both got Seattle.
Yeah. Monday night game. Pittsburgh versus Cincinnati. It's at Cincinnati. To me, like I said before, Pittsburgh just looks like trash this year. I think they're going to be at the bottom of that division by the season ends. So, yeah, Cincinnati.
You know what? It's crazy how far Pittsburgh has fallen. Like, they used to be steady playoffs, and they still have Ben Roethlisberger, but it's just like the talent has decreased at all of their skill positions slowly. Like running back, tight end, wide receiver, all their skill positions. It's like they just don't even have a playmaker at not one of those positions. All they have has been Roethlisberger. And you would figure at least you'd have a solid offensive line if you have no playmakers because you're not paying anyone, obviously. But they don't even have that. Offensive line sucks. No running game. No wide receivers. They're all average or good. So, yeah, Cincinnati, this is an easy pick to me, even though we thought the Texans was the easy pick. Woo! That was close.
Yeah, San Diego, But, hey, I think San Diego's going to be a different team this year, and they proved it. They proved it last week. So, I think they'll keep proving that. So, let's see. Pelton's picks.
Oh, we're going with my game?
Yeah, I'm going with your game first.
Okay, cool.
All right. Pelton decided to pick up St. Louis versus Atlanta, which I think will be a good match. I mean, St. Louis looks like a decent team. You know, I think they're number 3 in their division, but I think they'll pick. They look decent. Anyways, I went with Atlanta. They're the home team. St. Louis versus Atlanta. I like what I saw last week. I know Roddy White's not going to play this week, but I still think they'll go ahead and get St. Louis.
I gave the edge in this one to upset alert, whatever you want to call it. I'm saying St. Louis is going to win this one. I know Atlanta needs this game because if they fall 0-2 at this point to the Saints, which really puts you 3 games behind because of the fact that now the Saints hold like a tiebreaker game over them. So they need this game, but to me, I mean, the bottom line is this. The Rams have an identity, and they are tough. You know what I mean? And they have some playmakers. We haven't even seen Tavon Austin really get into the act. He did a little bit, but we didn't really see him get into the act. Jared Cook was so explosive last week. And then you have Daryl Richardson out there, and he did pretty well, got like 100 scrimmage yards, and Isaiah Pead will be another playmaker for them. I just think that we haven't seen this team maximize out on offense, and they looked pretty decent against a really good defense last week. And Atlanta's defense is not even anywhere close to what the Cardinals have on defense. So I just think that the Rams defense is going to punch this Falcons team in the mouth, and this Falcons team to me is going to fold because they're soft. Their team is not hard, and so I think the Rams are going to go in there and just take that win.
All right. So that's the first pick we differ on. And last game, my pick. I'm going Detroit at Arizona. To me, I think this game is so close. I think when I was looking it up earlier, I was looking up the spread. I think the spread's only 1 point. I think Detroit's favored on the Vegas spread by 1 point, and that's it. So, if I was a gambler man, I wouldn't even touch this game as far as with money. So it's a close game. I think Arizona's going to get it. They're playing at home. Carson Palmer looked good last week. Larry Fitzgerald looked good last week. Hopefully the running game comes to fruition, but we'll just have to see about that. I don't know if that's quite there yet, but I think Arizona will roll over Detroit this week. And their defense, they got a stellar defense. I mean, I know they're going up against Stafford and Johnson, but we'll see.
Yeah, this game is very hard to predict, like who's gonna win. Last week Detroit went up against a Minnesota team who really is just Adrian Peterson, and while he did break a big one, and they did let up quite a few touchdowns from him. They didn't let him run that much more in the game after he broke that first one. So I think they continue to make adjustments. I think this team continues to mature, and I think that Green Bay and Chicago better watch out because this is the team that's coming. So I'm going to go ahead and pick Detroit with all their playmakers, Reggie Bush, hey, Calvin Johnson, hey, Matthew Stafford still, slinging the rock. I think, and Joique Bell got into the act too last week. So I think with the playmakers they have at varying positions, I think they'll be able to get this win.
All right, so there you have it. By the way, we both finished at 3-1 last week. The only one we lost was the Redskins-Eagles game. We both went with the Skins, and they lost, unfortunately. And so this week, I think we're different on 2 picks, right? St. Louis, Atlanta, Detroit, and Arizona are the only 2 we're different on?
That is correct, sir.
So we'll see what happens. Hopefully after this week, I'll be 8-1. And you will be 6-3 or something like that.
Yeah, 6-3. 6-3 is not bad, I guess.
Yeah, no, I hear you. So, and just like you said before, if you want to get on with our NFL picks, just let us know. We always pick the Thursday night, Sunday night, and Monday night games. So and then we just roll with one we each like, and I try to always pick one that I think is going to be a close matchup. That could go either way, just to see how good I am at picking games.
That's right. I said it. I said it. It had to be said. Somebody got to say it.
And now for my favorite part of the show, Bold predictions. This week, my bold prediction comes from the Colts and Giants game. I'd say the Manning brothers will throw for at least 10 touchdowns combined. But I think it might be more like 11. I think the score of this game is going to be somewhere around 42-35. Woo! That's a lot.
All right. I think Eli throws a couple picks, by the way. Just throw that in there. I think he's got like a good 2 in him again this week.
Hey, I think you're right. I'm not worried about that. He's going to keep slanging it. That's what I know. He's going to keep slanging that rock.
All right. Mine comes from the Detroit at Cardinals matchup. Larry Fitzgerald this week goes for over 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. So I think if you snag him up in drafts, you probably got good value at him because you probably got him late. I think it was kind of like Reggie Wayne last year. Reggie Wayne got picked up late in most leagues last year, and last year he had a good season. I think this year that's Larry Fitzgerald. I think he got picked up a little later than he should have in most leagues, and I think he's going to be stellar all season.
Yeah, I think he's going to be well worth wherever he got drafted because he probably got drafted somewhere, I would say 3rd or 5th round, but he's going to be more like your 2nd round wide receivers that went. So I definitely see his production. He had 2 touchdowns and 80 yards last week, killing. I think he's going to be able to do work for that team all year long.
And this week he's going for over 100 and 2 touchdowns.
Oh, hey, we shall see. We shall see. As far as last week's bold prediction, Reggie Bush, so close. They called 2 touchdowns back from that man. Or he would have been number 1. I told y'all. I tried to tell you.
Yeah, my Packers beat the Niners. Didn't work out quite well, but that's why they're bold.
Before we conclude, just a couple of things. One, if you would like to be on the show, all you got to do, obviously, is have a computer, a webcam, and as far as the technicalities of how you get in, if you just let us know, let one of us know, then we can figure that out and get it coordinated and get you in. It's no big deal. Doesn't matter where you're at. As long as you got a good connection. Got to have good Wi-Fi, or else you can't get in. Good Wi-Fi. And then the other thing is, obviously, if you watched last week's show, we got to ride on the Michael Vick experience, and then we watched the game, and then we saw the real Michael Vick experience. Obviously, I'm kind of high on Michael Vick. I think he has a good chance to finish in the top 5 if he can stay healthy, and that I'm not sure of. But if he could stay healthy this season, he could easily be in the top 5, and he showed like what he's made of.
Yeah, I can see it. I mean, that offense came out strong. I mean, and the crazy part is they actually came out and said that wasn't even as fast as they can operate in a regular game that week. So, and Michael Vick came out in an interview after that game and actually said that you've only seen about 70% of what we actually have. So we didn't even show everything we got. So there's still more to show. So we'll see what happens. I picked Philly for number 3 in that division on my NFL pick show, and I may have been hugely wrong about that. We'll see what happens.
Well, but you did pick that Chip Kelly's offense was going to be a big deal, and I think we couldn't anticipate how the Eagles' defense was going to play because their defense looked like trash for 2 years, looked like trash in the preseason, and they looked okay. You know what I mean? But it's just that offense dictates to the other team how they have to play. You know what I mean? And you could just tell that the defense was getting gassed. And they did come out and say that, you know what, we kind of slowed down in the second half and didn't run as many plays as we could have. So it's going to be interesting to see.
Actually, I think the team that made the most plays last week, shockingly enough, was the Patriots, I think. For the full 4 quarters, I think they had the most offensive plays of any team.
Well, I'll say this. They need to double that because they're not scoring. They need to double, triple, do something. because they're not scoring. Forcing the ball to Junior and Edelman is not going to cut it. All right, well, I believe that concludes the show. So I will see you guys out there in Fantasyland. I'm Pelton.
I'm Bill.
And we'll see you guys next week.
Oh, yes, baby. Oh, yes, baby. This is August. This is August.